Hey, so I want to talk about something that I feel like I have the idea for the title, right? Like I have the idea of like what I want to call this, but at the same time it doesn't make much sense. Now, what it the exact thing I want to talk about is private humor versus stage humor. Now, that sounds like I'm just making up shit, right? When I make these videos, I try to make sometimes I try to make jokes, but I only try to like make like a weird joke if I feel like there's an opportunity where it fits. Because a lot of time I'm just talking about random shit. And then sometimes there's like a moment where I'm like talking about something where I'm like, "Oh, this person was like bewildered that I did this thing." And then I was like, "Well, what? Did you expect me to do this thing?" And it's like something like that, right? It's like it's an opportune time to fit a joke in, but most of the time I'm just talking, so I don't really know where to like fit a joke in, so it's just me talking. But what I mean by private humor versus stage humor is like the best example I can give is in my family. For some fucking reason, I don't know why, people in my family seem to think that I'm funny. Why? But at the same time, the reason is an easier like explanation than, I mean, anything really. Like it's an easy explanation, and that's just the sense of it's private. It's just private humor. It's me delivering jokes off of other people's words, off of their personalities, like personalities melding, all that kind of shit. It's a private thing. No one's watching. It's between me and someone else. We're talking. We make jokes that are pertain to us, or if I'm talking to someone, I have like a different way of like making jokes compared to who I talk to. With my cousin, we just make jokes nonstop because that's all we do. When I talk to other people in my family, I kind of go into more of this like kind of, I don't really know how to explain it, like stern expression. Like I don't really get along with my family too much. So a lot of the time like when my family talks, I try my best to not move my face in any way where I do not want to show that I'm angry, sad, happy, anything. Like I try to keep my face as straight as possible. And I have people in my family who like to make really weird jokes. And usually my style of humor with them is like, I don't know, just like saying something passive aggressive, right? But people in my family always tell me that I'm funny. Am I funny? Fuck no. But for some reason, they seem to think so. It's obviously it's like subjective. Whether to me, I'm not funny to me. Maybe to them, I am. Maybe to some people, I am. But to me, I'm not funny. I've never made myself laugh. But that's private humor, right? It's humor that comes between you and another person in private. It's not like, for example, like if I did a video where I was talking to someone else on the video, then I'd be able to probably have more humor in it because I would be, bouncing jokes off of them back and forth type shit. It would be more of like a broadcasted private humor. And sometimes whenever I'm like playing a game, I have a little more humor in me rather than when I'm making a video where I'm just like I'm trying to explain something. So I can't really find the time to be, jokey sometimes, but I still can if I feel like the opportunity arises. I sound fucking insane like with everything I'm saying so far. I sound like I'm like trying to like scientifically dissect humor. But and what I mean by stage humor is like comedy, stand up, the humor that you have to come up with on the top of your head in front of an audience. And the reason I talk about private humor versus stage humor is that people in my family, it feels like every time I say something that makes them laugh, almost everyone in my family always likes to say the same phrase, and that's, "You should be a comedian." And it's like, no, no, I have stage fright, bro. I don't want to be on a stage. But on top of that, like stand up comedy has its own type of humor, right? It's taking your life experiences and like mixing it up into like an interesting way, right? Because instead of saying like, "Oh man, I went to the store and I bought some Captain Crunch," yeah, No, you'd be like, I went to the fucking store and the door didn't open, so I banged into it and I fell down like a fucking, I don't know, like a pratfall, and people laughed at me and I stood up and I said, oh God, everyone saw that. So I rushed in hurriedly and I grabbed my fucking cereal that cuts the roof of my mouth and I was like, this is too much sugar. I'm gonna die in 10 years. You know, that's what it is. They embellish their stories. Stand up is about embellishing on your life stories. You don't just say, I woke up and scratched my balls. You say, oh, I woke up, I fell out of my bed, my fucking wrist exploded, there was blood everywhere, but I was like, oh God, blood everywhere, but my balls kind of itch. So I went to scratch and I noticed a leech hanging off of me. You know, that's stand up. You embellish, you kind of take it, you play up that you are more interesting than you are. And that's the difference. Stage comedy is taking it's telling a story. Because, like, you know, stand up has come a long way from people just being like, what's the deal with airline food? And, you know, it's come a long way from just like having a joke and then punchline. It's now like a story. You set it up, you kind of keep it rolling, you make something funny every once in a while where people are like, that's funny because he hit his toe. That's funny because he cheated on his wife. That's funny because he destroyed an entire country. You know, it's like it gets progressively stupid, and then comes the big punchline where they're like, and I, wouldn't you know it, I forgot my socks. You know, and then people fucking shit their pants, fall out of their chair, and then one person storms out because they didn't find it funny. That's the difference between stage humor and private humor. Private humor is you just being like kind of just being human, right, with other people or by yourself, and you just make jokes to yourself or to another person who understands the humor that you have. But stage humor is seeing this audience and thinking, okay, what have I done recently that I can embellish? Or even if something didn't happen, like sometimes they'll just be like, so I walked into a bar and there was this dude just taking a shit in the middle of the floor and I was just like, oh my God. And then he died. I don't know. Like, see, I could never be a stand-up comedian because I can't embellish anything. Like, if I ever tell a life story, I tell it how it happened. I'm not going to embellish it. I've never embellished my life. I got to stop saying embellished because at that point it just seems like I'm really trying to like hammer in that I know the word. It's like, hey guys, look, I know the word embellish. Aren't I smart? I can say a word that's more than 4 letters. But the point being that there's a difference. And I don't really know like what the middle ground would be. Like if I make a joke on a video, like I don't really know what that would be. Like I don't know what the middle ground would be called, but I always thought of it as like one side's private humor, another is stage humor, right? I can't go up on stage. I could never be a stand-up comedian because one, I don't live an interesting life. Two, I don't like to lie about my life. Three, I don't like lying in general. And four, stage fright. I think I already said stage fright, but I don't know. I really have bad anxiety on stage. I would have been in band. I would have been like a band kid or like a theater kid. I actually wanted to do theater, but then I remembered, oh yeah, stage, stage fright. So that never happened. Though when I was in second grade, I was actually the lead in like a play, but we weren't in a stage. We were in our class, and I can't remember what it was about. I think I was like a detective or something, and I fumbled most of my lines. But see, I didn't embellish that at all. That's actually what happened. I was in second grade and I fucked up most of my lines as a detective. I don't remember what it was about though. But yeah, private humor, stage humor, there's a difference. There's a disconnect. And I don't know what the middle ground is, but I always think about it, about how my family constantly tells me I should be a comedian. And it annoys me in a way where it's just like, just because someone can be funny to you does not mean that they should drop every aspect of their life to jump into this wheelhouse that they are not prepared for. Like, I cannot get up on stage and do that shit. Like, that's why I like like this doing videos. My face is not here. People hear me, or, yeah, basically just hear me because they don't see me. But people hear me when the video comes out, and then that's it, right? I'm not on stage. I'm not I don't have like a deep connection. I'm just a guy being stupid, saying things, sometimes making jokes, and swearing way too much. That's pretty much it. But yeah, private humor, stage humor, huge difference. something my family seems to not really get the disconnect between. But I'm not being a stand-up comedian. I'm just not gonna do it. I'd rather just make passive aggressive jokes at them and then have them tell me to be a comedian, but I'm not gonna do that shit. I could not be funny on stage for 1 second because I'd probably start crying. I'm not kidding. All those eyes on me would immediately make me cry. But yeah, anyway, yeah. So that's basically just like me trying to explain what I mean by it, because people would probably see the title and be like, what the fuck does that mean? So yeah, private humor, stage humor, uh, ass humor, whatever. I can never end videos, so yeah, whatever.